What's up, everybody? It is time for another episode of YAP2ASIA. It is number 20, and we are just coming back off of Master Santiago, which went well. Very well for Pacific. Yeah. But before we get to anything, first of all, let's introduce everybody. Of course, today I've got Quack and blackenBlue with me, and our special guest is Jake. Jake is joining us, Jake Shin from Riot, and we've got him here. So he's locked in here with us today. He's got to answer some of our questions, and we're really looking forward to it. So first of all, Jake, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, really glad to be here. Obviously, I was really happy when you guys started this show, and I've been wanting to be on the show for quite some time, and I finally get a chance. So really happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate it. Like, it really means a lot to have you come talk with us and talk about a lot of things today. I think people are going to be very keen to hear what Jake has to say through all of this. But first, Jake, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about, your role at Riot, how long you've been there, things like that. Like, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, it's a good question. So my name is Jake Sin, and I'm the head of VALORANT Esports for the APAC territory, and I'm also head of VCT Pacific, which is one of our leagues. But we also manage, of course, the Challengers leagues and Game Changers across the APAC territory. And my job as the head of all of these leagues is to really provide strategic direction and to create collaborative organizational efforts to try to achieve our goals for all of these different parts of our ecosystem. And so that's an easy way to say I just tell people what to do.
Wow. Big boss man. Okay.
Pretty much.
So is it really like you're managing or coordinating across a lot of different organizations just to, bring about all the, the league, the productions, everything?
Yeah, exactly. So we have such a massive Riot team that works on something like VCT Pacific across multiple offices too. It's not just our Korean team, right? It's the team in Singapore, it's the team in Japan and Indonesia, also our global team in LA. There's a lot of coordination that needs to happen to bring something like this to the fans and put something like this together. So yeah, definitely a collaborative effort, and I'm kind of responsible for putting all the pieces together to try to make it work.
What do you think? Do you think there's any big, misunderstandings that the community might have about somebody in your position, right? All those processes that you mentioned and coordinating stuff. What do you think the community gets wrong at most, if there's something that they kind of misunderstand about, being where you are?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And honestly, I feel like I alluded to this in my earlier statement too, but I think the biggest misunderstanding about my role is that people think I do a lot of work. And honestly, it's I don't do any work at all, right? I'm just a straw man, and I, work with people. But no, seriously, we just have a massive team of such talented and hardworking people that I work with to bring the show to the fans and put this on. And I'm just, totally grateful for the opportunity to work with such a great team.
Okay, at least we know he's humble, guys. All right.
They pull that off.
We know that part.
Yeah.
Got that part
coming through. Okay. Yeah.
Someone give him an Oscar.
No, it's too late. They just had him. He missed his chance.
Call Conan back. I think it's pretty great though, Jake. He had the keyword responsible back there. I think that's one of the biggest things, because you're also kind of active on social media. You're quite passionate, honestly, about Pacific. We do see you tweeting throughout Master Santiago, celebrating the wins with us, which is pretty awesome.
I debated whether I should do that because, obviously I've been getting some hate from some people recently. And so I debated whether my congratulations Nongshim would be met with just, a lot of hatred, but that didn't happen. A lot of people were celebrating with me. And so sometimes I think we're kind of also overestimating the extent to which people are in disagreement, but we're all doing this for a good reason, right? Which is to, to create the best esport in the world. And I think a lot of fans do see that as well.
I mean, bro, we just won like 4 Masters in a row. I think we can gloat a bit. I think we're justified there, right? We can celebrate that. After all the shit we took in the first opening years as a region.
That's the only reason I'm here, is just to gloat. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's only going to continue. So you better get used to it.
I think that was the best part about me being there and casting the finals was like, I don't even care who wins. This is I win either way,
Right?
Yeah, very chill way to walk in the
Yeah.
finals.
Yeah, a little too chill for me, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I think maybe one I think interesting thing we could talk about is what makes Pacific different than the other regions, right? Like Americas or EMEA or China. What separates us, kind of not just how we do internationally, but how the organization or the way, the logistics to make everything work.
Yeah, I mean, besides being the winningest league in all of VCT, which we already talked about with the most, global event wins, I think what makes us truly special is our diversity. And I'm talking about diversity in the league in terms of player diversity and team diversity, but I'm also talking about the people making the show. Is very diverse. Again, I talked about it already, but we come from all different backgrounds, and also our team is across so many different offices, and so yeah, I mean, we strive to build a league that is truly resonant in all different parts of APAC, and we're not perfect, but we're really trying our best to get there. And that was one of the ambitions for the league, was to create a truly APAC wide, all-encompassing league for this region. And I think that's truly what makes us different or differentiated from some of the other leagues in the VCT. And yeah, if I may add one more thing, I think it's really our players. The players are super affectionable, super lovely. I think there's just so many wholesome interactions that happens between them. And I think that's kind of pretty unique to VCT Pacific. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really been a treat, with how everybody mostly gets along in Pacific. There's a few caveats here and there, but for the most part, everybody gets along really well. Yeah. And of course, I mean, we all know that APAC, all players are cracked, so we got that going for us too.
Very true. Very true. We proved it once again.
I think it's kind of like a cultural thing, right? Like you can even notice it in some of the orgs, like social media wise. They're not really rimming each other too hard, like bantering as hard, as you compare to some other regions where like orgs, they go hard at each other. Like you lost, you're gonna know.
Well,
C9 and G2 got some beef.
Beef. We've had our moments in Pacific too, guys. Come on, I think
you
remember some.
Yeah.
Thanks
for drama's fun too. Don't get me wrong,
is.
but I think it all comes from a really good place,
Yes.
And so yeah, there's a lot of camaraderie, friendships, teamwork. I think we just have a great spirit.
Yeah, everyone just does come together at the end. But I think the other thing is also just to really point out, I mean, the efforts I think Riot, or maybe just VCT Pacific, has taken to include everyone. Japan last year was really wholesome, especially when you got to interact with fans, Clinton. But at the same time, I think for us, blackenBlue, Ascension, Jake has been there with us as well. I think, I don't know if maybe I can mention this, when they had the cross region broadcast, when Indonesian, the desk kind of caught onto our desk as well. And then they had the whole thing where they impersonated Japanese casters. That's the whole spirit of Pacific. I really do enjoy it, and it does feel really wholesome. But
that reminds me. Wait, how many languages do we broadcast Pacific in?
A lot, don't we?
This is
quite a lot. Now you're putting me on the spot. I think it's 8 languages. We do. Okay, let's do this: English, Korean, Japanese, Indonesian. Oh man, I've already lost.
Thai?
There's Thai, of course. And then Vietnamese for sure. And then it's on and off with Tagalog and Hindi. So is that 8, right?
Yep.
About there, yeah.
I hope I didn't forget a language, because that would be pretty bad.
Yeah, I forgot the Australians. They have their own language. It's
They
not
do.
exactly
Yeah.
English.
Can't understand those Aussies.
Yeah, no, we got the language covered. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he actually got every single one of them right. Yeah. But that does
Okay.
kind of lead me to my next question as well. I mean, the whole, vision of Pacific, Mandarin. Oh God, productions are winning. I forgot Mandarin.
Right.
Yeah. Different subregions here and there. But yeah, I mean, with the whole vision of Pacific being kind of like this diverse, how did we land on South Korea as like the, I guess the starting venue, the league hub way back in like 23?
Yeah, so the choice to come to Seoul was really a practical one, and not a preferential one. The What I mean by that is that it just made a lot of sense, and our mission for this league is so big, right? As I've said in the beginning, we're trying to create this league that is a real super Asia league in esports, which hasn't been done before, right? I mean, there's been so many games that came and went, right? But nobody really succeeded in, even ourselves, right? At Riot, like we never succeeded in creating this super Asia league, and this is really the first attempt, and I think we're getting closer. I think it's still a very bold ambition, and so there's a lot of work to be done, but to be able to do that, right, we absolutely need to have a strong foundation. And we wanted to build a solid foundation in a place where we felt comfortable, where we had experience, and where we had knowledge, right, of all these different venues and great partnerships with different production partners and vendors. We also have great talent here in Korea, Paperthin and Seth, to name a couple, that like live in Korea just because of how big the esports industry is. And we had cumulative experience from operating the LCK for over 10 years. So it checked a lot of boxes, right? And so from this like foundation, obviously we want to expand, we want to grow. And so this is not the ultimate destination, guys. Like, it's not the place where we want to be forever, but it's a great foundation, right? This is a great starting point, and all we can do is grow from here, right? So that's kind of the rationale for choosing Korea as the starting place.
As a starting place, but does that mean you guys have ever kind of contemplated maybe 5-10 years down the line? Would you look at other avenues for hosting, I guess, VCT Pacific? I know lots of fans are very excited about a potential, moving to Japan or other regions within Pacific. Is this something that you guys have at least considered for the future long term?
Absolutely. I don't think you even have to wait 5-10 years. It's can't say exactly when. Obviously, there's a lot of changes coming to the VCT in general in 27, and some of that is related to this. But our goal is to expand and go to more places. I think we've already been experimenting quite a bit with Ascensions, and now we're trying to take VCT Pacific finals to more locations, right? So last year we were in Japan. This year we're going to Vietnam. No other league has done this, guys, yet, right? So it is something that we are really proactively exploring, and there's only more to be done here.
Awesome.
More in Japan, please.
Personal ask.
I think everybody agrees.
So many countries, right? Like we just have so many places.
I know.
But yeah, we'll be back in Japan for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited about Vietnam. I mean, I think that's an amazing country for esports. Like, it's so big, and I've never been there either, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I think in general we've got pretty cool stuff cooking, and it should be a lot of fun coming up.
May I ask personally for you, Jake? Like, do you have a personal favorite city that you would like to visit or have one of the Pacific events in that we haven't been to yet?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is a trap, because if I say
just personal question.
Yeah.
Okay, so please take my word for it that this is not like
not
a hint or
reflecting,
anything.
right?
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler or whatever.
Yeah, we're dropping
but
the Riot just personally as you.
Yeah, personally as Jake Sin, right? I've never been to the Philippines.
Yeah.
I've never been to India. Those are the two locations where I've never been. I've also never been to Australia. I've been to New Zealand, but not Australia. So if it were up to me, I would love to visit, these places I just haven't been to. But obviously, we'll make our decision collectively, look at all the criteria, and see where it makes sense for 27 and beyond.
That's very cool.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with
that. That's all's going to get taken away from this interview. That's the one clip.
That's the one clip. That's the headline.
He's been trapped.
You're gonna see it on the news.
Well, I mean, okay, these things do happen. I think sometimes maybe words or clips or moments get taken out of context and things blow up. Definitely for Jake, for probably a little bit more than the rest of us. How do you deal with like this kind of chaos, and how much of it really happens like day to day? Does it, are there constant fires to put out at the Riot, Korea offices?
Each day at work is pretty chaotic, as you can imagine. I mean, even our normal day is like pretty chaotic, right? Because we're running a sport, and sports is unpredictable. You don't know who's going to win. You don't know which storylines you're going to have to sell. You don't know which players are going to pop off, and you're now going to have to like market the whole league around them. Like, I mean, you just can't predict the future, and that is the beauty of it. But also the work associated with it, right? So there's that. But on top of that, there's also, like I said, fires, right? Just things happening, and yeah, they require a lot more effort and time to address than a lot of people think. And so when these things happen, yeah, it's a ton of work.
Well, speaking of fires, you guys had quite a few recently, right?
Which ones?
Yeah.
So many.
We'll get to it. I mean, if you guys want to jump right into it, right? I think the room that everybody. Yeah, the whole point is that everybody is kind of curious about some of the, I guess, concerns around, let's say, competitive integrity in VCT Pacific recently, right? And competitive integrity is kind of the backbone of why people watch. They wouldn't care about who wins if they thought it was scripted, if they thought they did not earn it honestly and fairly compared to other, competitors in the scene. So I guess let's start off with your perspective on, let's start with the whole headset issue here that we've seen some players bring up and some players also dispute. But from your perspective, what are your thoughts on what exactly went down in terms of this kind of whole headset not being weared properly issue, in terms, I guess, from your perspective alone?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to, really go into detail here and also ask questions if anything is unclear. But we had known about this issue before the whole thing blew up in the community, because we actually received reports from teams directly that this was happening. In fact, this exact screenshot, not the one from Spike Talk, but these two, players were sent to us, and so we had this in our inbox, and so we did look into the instances where these things happened, and so the investigation for Lakia and Sylvan had already been undergoing when this was actually publicly talked about, right? And our process was pretty rigorous, and we wanted to really leave no stone unturned. So we rewatched, of course, the entire match, and identified exactly, the timestamps in which this happened, and we listened into the voice comms to see if they were talking about anything regarding the ability to hear anything that the casters were saying, whether they were using the information right from the casters to then make a decision in the game. So we looked at in-game decision making and game flow and what was being said by the players, all 5 of them on both teams. And we were also cross-checking all of that with what the Korean casters were saying exactly when the players were talking about the game. And so it was so many different things that we had to review. And our conclusion is that there was no cheating, right? Cheating is a pretty high bar. There has to be intentionality. There has to be an actual availability of information that is, advantageous. And then thirdly, you also have to use that information to your advantage. And so it's like a 3-step process to prove like cheating. And, based on what we saw, and it was a pretty like rigorous review of like the entire VOD. And honestly, it just didn't happen. I mean, not that it makes it better, but like these guys also ended up losing the matches that they played their games like that. And so, I think our best policy is like innocence until proven guilty. And so we're defaulting to that. Now, it's still messed up that you're playing like this. It's not acceptable, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, no one should do that. And honestly, like we missed the mark here too, right? Because I feel like we should have caught that. Like if someone says, hey, like why were they allowed to play like that? Shouldn't they have been stopped? The answer is yes, and we just messed up. That was our bad. So we're also kind of retraining our referees and trying to create a procedural method of identifying these issues earlier. But now that this thing actually happened, like we have to go back and review and make our best judgment call. And our call here is that yes, it was a inappropriate use of the match equipment. So they are getting penalized for that, which is a warning, which can then aggravate into something more severe if this ever happens again. But for now, that is a warning, and they were notified. But yeah, it didn't constitute cheating.
Okay. My follow-up question to that is, was this like something that they did? Like, can you give me like a better picture of like how often during that match it happened, or like was it just kind of like a 2-second on and off thing? They were just messing around. They didn't, what was your guys' read on that situation? I'm actually pretty curious about the detail of what was going on there.
Yeah, fair question. So we have the exact timestamp of when it happened and how long it sustained. And for Lakia and Sylvan, specifically, I think it was, once we saw that the headset was worn inappropriately, I think it was sustained until the end of the match.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a pretty lengthy duration, which is why we had to like really just like watch the whole thing over and over again to make sure like no foul play was done. Really, because like if you kind of imagine someone playing with like outside information, the only way to use that information really is to do something against that information, or like tell it to someone else in your game. Something like, I mean, of course they can be a little bit more deceitful, but the natural kind of like way to leverage that information would be like, hey, like I just heard that like they're all coming to A or something, or like if they make a crazy like bet of like, hey, like it's a 5-man stack at B or something like that, which is like they had no info on. That's kind of what we were looking out for. And obviously like this is very difficult guesswork, which is why we had to just spend so many hours just like reviewing all the VODs. But ultimately we have to default to innocence until proven guilty. And honestly, there's really nothing there that really shows that they had access to the information that they shouldn't have had.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that makes sense because, like, when you do have, other crazy, huge tournaments with like a really wild crowd, for example, like you would then actually see the player coincidentally, randomly, like turning around, that kind of thing. But this is, I guess, not the case. So
yeah,
that makes sense. But how about like the entire timeline or process? Like, how many different departments are like handling this stuff, and how long does it actually take for you guys to finish the entire investigation process? Because it sounds like seriously a lot of work. If you're talking about cross-referencing, Korean casters audio and everything, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the sheer number of hours that went into this and the number of people that were involved was pretty crazy. I mean, you have tech involved, you have the broadcast team, of course, right? And then you have like competitive operations, which is like our match operations refereeing, to get their perspective and to get them to also review the VODs. And so that was obviously a very cross-regional, cross-functional effort. And then we're only talking about like 2 matches here. One with Sylvan and the other with Lakia. But we also went and reviewed the entirety of Kickoff because there were some allegations that this was happening rampantly, that players were kind of having their headsets on and off and kind of like abusing the equipment. And so because we had that kind of accusation, we had to look into it, right? Because again, like we take these things seriously. And if that's happening on a regular basis, like we have to do something about that. So we went back and we rewatched all face cam VODs of the entirety of Kickoff. Every single match, every single map, round by round, we watched. Because if you imagine, every map has 10 face cams, right? So we're just all sitting there, not all of us, but the team responsible, sitting there watching the 10 faces, and it's all cross-checking each other too, like multiple people, and looking at headset usage. And contrary to popular belief, we couldn't identify a single instance where it happened. So it was just Lakia and Sylvan, but we had to make sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And leave no stone unturned. So that was a ton of hours that went into just watching every single face cam of every map of every match for the entirety of Kickoff. But we did that and found no other instances where people were doing this. That was just 2 players.
And just for 2 maps, one for each player, just one map is how
That's right.
often they did it. Okay, so it wasn't like it was a consistent reoccurring pattern. Who knows maybe why they did it, but it wasn't something that we were seeing as a bigger picture thing, correct?
No, it wasn't consistent. It wasn't ever repeated. It was just those two maps, one map for each person. And like, I don't want to defend them because I can't get into their head and like find out what their intentions truly were. But we also have like new headsets this year from a new sponsor, and it does take some getting used to. The cups are smaller. There's a bit of like getting used to that. And so again, like that doesn't prove anything, but it's like one of the other factors to consider as well, is just the novelty of it.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever ask them or approach them and ask them like why did it come to be like that? Like, were your ears hot or something? Or it might be the new headsets. Did you guys ever actually get their thoughts on why it seemed to look like that?
I don't think we asked them like directly, but we warned them, and we delivered a formal notice to like tell them never to do it again, and that like this warning constitutes a formal warning where if it repeats, then it's like a more severe penalty. And so that's kind of how it all happened.
Okay. Well, I think it's good that you guys show that you're being more proactive now. You took extra steps, right? You checked everybody's VODs from the previous matches, wherein previously it was a bit more reactive after, I guess, it was flagged. And just rolling it back, you mentioned that before this even became public, it was already flagged internally by you guys. Was it something that was, I guess, identified by like the internal Riot office, or did it come from like an outward source? Did somebody kind of come to you with screenshots beforehand, or was it from the Riot, members, staff itself?
Yeah, so I think this is where we totally missed the mark, because we didn't find this out ourselves. It was reported to us by teams, multiple teams actually. And the screenshots were submitted to us, which is why we learned of the inappropriate usage of the headsets. And that's when we started the work on identifying the issue and investigating immediately. But before then, we didn't know, which is a total mess. I mean, I'll be honest, like that shouldn't really happen. And so, we have retrained our referees, and now we have a checklist of things to look out for during a match, of what's going on. And then, so it shouldn't really be a problem anymore, but it really shouldn't have happened either. So we're taking accountability for that for sure.
Can I ask kind of like ideally how, I guess, things should be handled then? Because like, if you get reports internally, do you conclude your own internal investigation first before you, kind of go public with anything in an official capacity? Or do you only come out like after everything has concluded? Or, do you kind of not even come out publicly at all if there's nothing conclusive?
Yeah, I think the best practice, I mean, once the public community has these concerns that they're voicing, I think it's very important to address them. I don't think you should like look the other way or just ignore that this is all happening, which is why I felt the urge to like say something about it, even when the investigations had not concluded. And so I think when the community cares about something, you have to talk about it. You can't just shy away from it. So that's number one. Number two, we also don't want to say anything without having conclusive decision on something, because we're talking about like real people here, and the consequences could be pretty severe. I mean, the other conclusion that we could have had was that these people were cheating and they should be banned for 2 years, right? Because that's what cheating entails. Is like if you cheated in a match, that's a penalty, that's a suspension of at least a year. Like cheating is not acceptable. And so we had to evaluate and investigate extremely thoroughly because we wanted to make sure. I think it's it almost does more harm if you're just like sharing like an interim statement, which then could throw a lot of people under the bus that potentially could be innocent.
Do you? This is sort of a off the wall question here that just sort of popped into my head. Do you think there'd be room for some kind of maybe, how do I say this? Like a collaborative thing where like teams and players maybe meet like once or twice a year or something to kind of throw things at you, be like, hey, here's some of the concerns we have. Like, could we address them? Whether it be, oh, we're worried maybe players can see people in the audience, and give hand signals or whatever the case may be. Or in cases like we're talking about now. So that way, maybe there'd be a way that we have a little bit more kind of collaboration in a process like that. Is that something you could see maybe like us working on? Because I know this stuff like comes out of nowhere for me because I just get in the caster booth and do my job and go home. But like, I kind of want to get your thoughts on something like that. Something that we could have a little bit more, there's less anger publicly from these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad that you brought this up because this is, I think, the biggest learning from the whole experience. If players feel like they need to resort to a public statement or comments in an interview to make changes happen or to feel heard, I think there's something fundamentally wrong about how we're operating the league. And especially for someone like Jemkin, who normally, like you guys have worked with him, he's like the calmest, chill, like friendly. He's just a good sport. And for him to come out and say these things, I think we're taking that especially seriously. Like we are like doing a really terrible job of like having an open line of communication with the players and also coaches, right? Coaches also have strong opinions and we should hear them out. And so, I think we missed the mark on that. And it is something that we are trying to explore new ways of like improving.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And we want to talk to the players and sometimes like, I totally get that they might not feel like it's easy to talk to us, even if we like tell them it is. And so maybe it might take like having like a Discord group or something, or just like a direct line of communication with the Riot people, including myself. Like I want to be accessible. I mean, I follow all the guys too. And so like the DMs are open, they can always talk to me and they didn't. And I think that's something saying a lot about me too. Like, am I approachable? Am I accessible? It's honestly been a moment of self-reflection for me as well. And so, I just want to get better at doing that and having more opportunities to listen to the players and coaches.
I mean, I kind of imagine it's a little bit difficult as well. If we can go back to one of the earlier, the screenshot that Jake's tweet that we had, because you clearly stated, what was it? However, it's equally important that any assertions of competitive integrity breaches are reported directly to league officials with substantiated evidence first, so that we can then collaborate closely, address them quickly and effectively. In this case, I guess it wasn't that, it was kind of maybe more of an emotional reaction with the way that the kind of league played out, losing 3 finals in a row. It's tough. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe to fans watching it, to make it more relatable, it's like you had a whole night or 3 nights in a row of like red carpet losses. You deranked. In this case, they lost, the plane ticket and everything. It's harsh, but ideally, what did you mean with that little ending statement in your tweet there?
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you scroll down, like, just see how many comments are on this.
It's the most. They might get us banned.
Yeah, I think 189 out of the 190 comments there are pretty negative. And like I've been in this industry and been interacting with fans for a long time, and like my experience tells me that when the entire community is saying something consistently, like I'm the one who messed up and not them, right? Like I must have done
Sure.
something wrong here. So I was rereading the statement, like what did I actually say that was so, triggering? Like, did I say something wrong here? And obviously, like I came to realize where it might have been misinterpreted. Like yeah, I can see how it sounds like, it sounds like I'm like silencing players and trying to tell them not to go to the public and talk to the community. But that really isn't like my intention at all. I mean, I do say that pretty literally here, which is, it's important that, everybody feels comfortable talking about the things that they're dissatisfied by. I think it's really important that they criticize the league and they hold us to a high bar, and they're able to do that publicly. What I would hope is that they don't feel like that's the only way changes can happen. But if we have given that impression, we'll take that blame, 24/7. But the intention really was to emphasize that please do all of that. Like please talk to the fans and call us out when we mess up. But also, like, don't stop doing that. But on top of that, also, please, can you come and talk to us, right? So that we can take action effectively by investigating with proper evidence and actually having the facts straight, and also in a timely fashion, right? It's important for us to deal with these issues as they happen or immediately after they happen, instead of us finding out about them like after the fact, or finding about these issues through indirect means like press conferences. So that was really my intention, was to be like, yeah, hey, like, can you also talk to us? And again, like, I'm not like saying that's an obligation the teams and players should have, but it's the way that allows us to do our job better, which I think helps everybody, right? For us to do our job better. And so that was really the point there.
I guess it's like an option that you kind of hope that they would, consider as well, rather than just
Yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like I can kind of understand both sides. Jemkin, the whole, you're losing a lot.
Dude, I don't blame him. I mean,
Yeah, right.
that guy was frustrated too,
If you were in that
Um,
situation as well, you would maybe kind of say something, I guess.
Of course. And he had a lot of reasons to be frustrated too. I mean, the way he's saying a lot of it was unfair treatment and all that. Like, I can see from his perspective why he felt that way. So I definitely empathize, with Jenkins here.
Cool. But at the
So-
same time, like from like Riot's POV, I mean, let's say like this didn't play out the way that it did. Maybe they, there wasn't even anyone internally kind of giving complaints to Riot, complaints or feedback to Riot perhaps, and they just went fully public, started, lobbing accusations here and there, and things just blew up. Like that, I can see why it would, make things a lot more chaotic, and then Riot would then have to start their own investigation, and like who knows, by that time maybe other teams would be alerted to, oh, okay, shoot, now we got to hide our evidence as well. Like things like that can go really like all over the place. So it kind of makes sense for everything to want to have like some proper procedure, have, proper complaints to Riot, but at the same time, you're still allowed to, kind of voice out your opinions publicly. So that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And to be fair to Jemkin, he or his team did report some of the issues directly to us, and we had already been working on those issues, right? So it wasn't all like new information to us. Some were new, but others we had already been working on. So it's not like he never talked to us or RQ never talked to us. Just want to be clear that like that wasn't really what happened at all.
So I think this would be a good time to dive into some of the other things that he was talking about. There was a couple other things. There was some smoking in the boys' room, and what was the other one? Oh, I think there was some concerns that the players can hear the Korean casters potentially through their microphones. So let's talk about those. I've already said this publicly before. I have never seen anybody smoking in the boys' room. I go to the boys' room every day. Can we please not police the bathroom, for the love of God? But anyway, go ahead, Jake.
I stay extended hours in there. I've never seen anybody smoking.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I will say is an obvious statement, which is smoking in the bathroom is not allowed.
Yes.
Not only is it a VCT thing because we have it in the rules, but it's also the law thing, right? I mean, it's in Korea, at least smoking indoor is prohibited. And so you shouldn't do that. And if anyone is caught doing that, we would, of course, have to penalize. With that said, what really transpired was there was a report of T1 players smoking in the bathroom that was received by our admin and our production partner. And they responded back with, oh, did you see it yourself? And, or do you have any evidence? And I think the evidence thing is like super silly to ask because like how would they have evidence, right? This happened in the bathroom. So like, are you taking pictures or whatever?
Yeah, please, let's not do that.
Yeah, exactly. But the reporter also said that they didn't like actually see it, but they must have like smelled it or maybe like it was kind of like smoke in the gun or kind of situation. Anyways, so the admin responded with, sorry, like we're not really able to take action on that because like it doesn't seem like there's enough substantial evidence here. And truth be told, like that information was never relayed to Riot. And so the Riot team really only found out about this whole incident via the interview. So we were caught off guard there a little bit. And so when we did find out through Jemkin's interview that this might have happened, what we did was just to go to T1 and straight up ask them, hey, like, did your players smoke in the bathroom? Did that happen? And then they came back with, yes, one of our players did. Like, he confessed to doing it. And then so based on that, we issued a formal warning, which, in cases like this, if it, happens again, it amounts to a fine. And we have fined someone based on multiple instances of catching that person, like either on broadcast or via one of our staff members actually seeing the smoking happening. So yeah, we have a precedent set where if it happens again, we have the ability to like penalize them with a fine. But this was a first time offense, and they kind of like came out with their own confession, and so it was a formal warning given.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's so silly. Like, it shouldn't happen. I mean, and then yeah, I mean, sometimes it's as easy as like if someone says someone is smoking in the bathroom, maybe the admin can just go and check, right? And then yeah, so I don't feel like we were perfect, and we took all the necessary steps. But is it preferential treatment? It wasn't because it was a specific team that we protected them. We would have done pretty much the same thing, regardless of who it was.
That makes sense.
I guess, can we address that actually? Because that's also been something that the community have been talking about a lot, where they feel like there might be preferential treatment towards the teams who come from where I guess it's all being held, right, in Korea. And I think one of the concerns is that it's hard to report to the officials about the officiating when you're reporting to the officials about their officiating, right? Like you're going to tell the police about the police. So I guess how can you, I guess, reassure the community that there's checks and balances and just show them that there's transparency here and that isn't actually happening behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, the league is in Korea. That's a fact. We also have a lot of Korean teams and players. That is a fact as well. And we have a lot of, on-site day-to-day admin and staff that are Korean. And sometimes they talk to each other in Korean. Sometimes these people will interact with other Korean players in Korean. The snacks and drinks, beverages are not all of them. Coca-Cola is global, but or Red Bull, I should say. But I can see how like a lot of people feel like, oh my God, this is like so Korean. This is run by Koreans, and there must be some bias baked into it. I mean, it's not their fault that they think this way. I mean, it's like so understandable, right? I would feel the same way if it was the other way around too. And like Korean fans would be saying something about this if like this was happening in a different country. I think it's very natural for fans to gravitate toward that conclusion. So yeah, I think we just have to be like extra conservative, extra like bulletproof on the fairness of it all, and we just can't let things like the smoking issue or even the late thing that Nongshim was late. There's a lot of like ambiguity in the rules, which like were applied consistently to all teams, but the fact that there was ambiguity is not desirable, optimal. So we plan to address that too, of having clear rules around what constitutes a late arrival versus a arrival on time. But it's things like this that add up and really just like deteriorate the trust in the league. And so, yeah, the best we can do is because we can't simply just change the location or change everybody working on the show, because that would just be impractical, right? So I think the best way we can do is to make our rules bulletproof and make our execution flawless, make sure there's no stone unturned, make sure it's super fair, be like 100% sure of our competitive integrity measures, so that we don't have these trust issues.
Awesome. Well, I think Riot have shown at least a good sense of making sure that they can accommodate everybody in general, right? All teams, even non-Korean teams. Like we saw the Paper Rex, I'd say issue, but maybe not that big of an issue, where during the whole, I guess, when you had the better, perspective on it than we did, right? Seeing it where Forsaken had like kind of a tech issue, and then they were obviously not the Korean team, and yet you guys still were able to find solutions that were beneficial for them, even not being a Korean team, right? So I think there's been, I guess, a good fairness in that regard, but obviously the community, and as you understand, would have other ideas otherwise, especially if their team loses against a Korean team in that case. But kind of encapsulating everything that you guys have already experienced so far in the years that, I guess, Pacific has been going on, are there any, I guess, updates or changes that you guys are looking to implement moving forward in the, I guess, Pacific circuit that you guys would want to talk about, or at least you guys want to help put out there that you guys are taking active steps to making sure you improve how things are going to run?
Yeah, so I think there are a few roles that need clarifying. And I think we can also do a better job of communicating with the teams and players, not only when issues happen, to let them know what steps are being taken, but also in general, like in every day, just having that line of communication open so that players and coaches from all teams can feel like they have a channel and their voices are being heard. So these are some of the things that we are already thinking of, making improvements on. And then once, spoiler alert for the future, is like once we're more global and like in more cities and just like meeting people everywhere, I think that'll naturally show to our fans that like we're not trying to create this VCT Korea thing, right? Like we're actually trying to create this like very ambitious Asia super league that brings all of APAC together, which has never been done before. And I'm really confident that we're able to do this. Once we're like, it's a show and not tell kind of situation, right? Like no matter what I can say here, I can never make you trust me. I can never make the fans, have that faith that if they don't have it already. But all I can do is to show the steps toward progress in trying to create this really APAC-wide league.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. Just real quick, I want to circle back to a few things. What about with the concern that players can hear the Korean casters, right, in their microphones? I know this is somewhat tough because obviously, like Quack talked about earlier, that you can hear the fans sometimes if they're loud enough. Like in Chile, they're freaking whistling so that so nobody can save. Like forget the idea of saving at that tournament because they're whistling so loud, which hilarious. Like that individual tournaments can create their own meta like that. But what do we do to try to mitigate the ability of the players to hear those casters? Because I've honestly tried to listen to some of the VODs, like with the that the teams will put out or that we put out, where you can hear the players talking, and I can't hear the casters that clearly enough to make out anything they're saying. But I don't know if you have any like thoughts or elaborations on that.
Or like what specific steps I guess Riot has taken
for sure.
to...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a LAN, I think it's natural and almost inevitable that some audio, some level of audio is going to be audible for the participants, right? You talked about Chile as an example. When you have 5,000 really passionate fans, I think that's just inevitable. And then in a small studio like the Sangam studio that we have in Seoul, it's also part of the game. But the question is, at what bar do we draw the line, right? Like how much is too much? And what constitutes breach of competitive integrity? And if you have a crowd that is super loud and they're just like cheering really hard or clapping really hard, and if that's audible, I think that's fair game. You know, that happens in any LAN. If you hear the casters going really loud, or if you can kind of hear that they're saying something really loudly, I think that's fair game. If you can hear the exact words being said, that is not fair game. That is a breach of competitive integrity. And so that's where we draw the line. In our testing, our procedures are designed to prevent us from ever going beyond that threshold. And so we do rigorous testing. Obviously, you know, Clinton, you've been in some of these like tech check days. I mean, Quack, you as well. I mean, you know, you guys have all been there where we do like we just like jack up the caster audio in the background, and you know, we have a bunch of people playing as if they were playing in a real match with the in-ears and you know the headset, and obviously we have the white noise just blasting through the outside headphone, and then there's insulation from not only these cups, right, of the headsets, but also like the in-ears that like go into your ear holes, right, and like just like block out the noise there. And so like we do rigorous testing and stress testing, right? It's also about stressing for the extremes, and you know we set up the environment so that the words being said by the casters are not actually discernible by the players in the game. So that is a bar we set, and we're pretty confident that we've been able to hold that line. And so yeah, that's kind of how the players are playing. But then like you know, we also want to be like doubly confident, right, in our ability to protect that line of defense. And so we do plan on implementing more test days and stress testing like to a greater extreme. So if our threshold in the past was like 200% of normal like casting volume, then let's jack it up to like 300% and see if it breaks or not. Like let's really have a conservative setup so that we know for sure it's airtight no matter who says what.
Okay.
That's a lot of effort. I think we are all really appreciative of that.
Yeah, is there a review of the like players like voices? Like do you guys just record like the players' voices in a separate like audio file or channel that you can review to double check to make sure they can't really discern what's being said by the casters?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of the process. It is also something that we looked at. And then if you watch some of like our voice comms videos, sometimes you're overlapping input from multiple players. And when they overlap, the background noise also becomes louder. And so it sounds like you can hear more than they actually can hear in the game. So that's like one kind of misunderstanding that people have, is like when they watch the voice comms, it's like they seem to be able to be more audible, the caster audio, but in reality it's really because it's all overlapping, right?
It's just louder.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
So they're like basically, I think what you're saying is they're separate individual channels for each player, and when you put them together, that boosts the outside signal. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think the basic like test is like if the Korean players could hear casters when they are playing, like they would have said something, right? That to me is like the common sense test for me, because Koreans are also playing against Koreans. And so if they think the other team could hear the casters, someone would have said something. And, you know, throughout the entirety of Kickoff, throughout the entirety of VCT Pacific, since it started in 2023, we had zero complaints about this, zero. And it only was ever kind of voiced to us on the last day of Kickoff. And so to me, like, that tells me that it's probably never been an issue. But again, like, we're happy to go back and really just like make it airtight and bulletproof and test and retest and check and recheck just to be sure. But can players actually hear casters word by word as they're playing the game? That's not factual.
Jake, I have to ask real quick because I'm pretty sure people are going to ask this. Have you guys ever looked into sound booths for VCT Pacific? Because I've seen it so much in the comments, but your thoughts, because I know they're going to ask this.
Dude, I just don't think they're cool. I just don't think they're...
What do you mean? I loved watching like Flash and Boxer playing those things back in like 2006. Come on.
Dude, I'm a Brewer fan as much as anybody else, but like, no, I think the aesthetic we're going for is to just be like, and also like we want fans to be able to see the players and have like, the ability to like watch their emotions and just like, yeah, we want to put the pros out there. And so, but again, like competitive integrity comes first, right? So if that is the only way to achieve this outcome of having a fair environment, we'll explore it. Right now, we're pretty confident in our setup, so we won't.
Okay. I mean, can you guys imagine?
Rule of cool.
If Forsaken, wins the map on an ace, Jason, and then he pops off, takes his headset, has to exit the sound booth first, and then go around the stage like that. Yeah, it's not cool anymore.
No.
Yeah. Also, a friendly reminder to Envy to keep your headset on when you're popping off. That's friendly.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it too. Is that headsets come off of players like all the time.
Yeah.
And so we can't have like a black and white rule of if your headset is off your head ever, then we will ban you or something like that. It can't be a binary rule. It has to be like, okay, like did it happen on purpose and did they actually get an advantage out of it? Like, so that's why it's a tougher conversation and not like, and again, like I think what Sylvan and Lakia did were more egregious than like just like celebrating after a crazy round and just like, so I get that there's a difference, but it is a big gray area, right? And so we have to tread pretty carefully there.
Yeah, case by case,
Yeah. Well,
do we have any more?
Do we have anything else? The lobby remake. This was during Paper XRQ, that last match. So I'll just say it from my perspective, what I saw happen, and then I'll give you your guys' thing. We were sitting up in the caster booth. It was me and Achilleos, and from our perspective, we're watching the players load in. That's usually when we're both like writing down who's playing what agent on our sheets and like getting ready to track everything. And I remember this specifically because I didn't write anything in Forsaken's box and they had to restart the lobby. This was on the Pearl, by the way, when he did end up picking Veto. So can you maybe give us a little bit of detail what happened there? Was there a tech issue? We just assumed it was a tech issue from mine and Achilleos' perspective because it just looked like a lobby remake and he couldn't pick an agent or something. So what do you got there for us, Jake?
Yeah, I can walk through that, how it happened step by step. So we started the map and initiated the lobby, and Forsaken intended to play Veto. He did not have Veto unlocked on his account, right? So that is
oh my
his fault, right? Because
he didn't unlock it.
Yeah, no, he literally just did not have the agent purchased.
Come on.
And so he couldn't pick it, and then he informed the referees right away that he had to restart and get the agent. And so per our rules, whenever something like this happens, we do remake for this. All right. The alternative is to just say, too bad, so sad. Pick whatever agent you want and out of the pool that you have, and so be it. But I feel like that's probably a worse outcome, right? For the fans, PRX having to it's not because it's PRX for any team to play with the agent pool that they've never played with, and just to ruin a BO5 like that, not the ideal. Again, you can debate me on that because it's a subjective rule, but our rule is consistent across all 4 leagues. This is how we implement this, and this also happened in other leagues. It happened to G2 as well when they didn't have an agent that they wanted to play unlocked, and then VCT Americas had to remake for them. So this is the standard, right? And so we did it per our policy, and And so that was the first time. But Forsaken was at fault for not having that unlocked. That was his responsibility per our rule set. And so he was given a formal warning for that. Should that ever happen again, it will likely, surmount to something more serious. But as a first-time offender, that's what he got, a formal warning.
And this is because, sorry.
There you go.
And this is because the accounts that the players use are different from their personal accounts, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they have a specific tournament account that they use. And so it's a bit of a hassle too. And maybe there's like a bit of a learning from here as well for us too, of like, how can you make this easier and foolproof so that these mishaps don't happen again? But the reality is they're given an account. There's not all the content is unlocked, and they have to manually unlock it. And Veto being one of the latest content there, it wasn't there. And so they had to manually go and do that. So yeah, a warning was given, but it happened the second time, right? That's where it gets a little crazy because like, oh my gosh, surely repeating the same mistake is definitely like abuse, right? But what really happened was it was actually on us as the Riot operations team to start the match too soon before Forsaken had the chance to actually go and buy the agent. So we didn't confirm that he had it, and we just started the game again. And then, obviously Forsaken was like, whoa, hold on, I don't have him yet. And so we're like, oh crap, sorry, we have to go back and do it again. I think where we could have done a better job is we could have kind of given more visibility to RRQ and kept them in the loop about all of this so that they don't feel like going into that map like they were wrong and this was all like bullshit. But honestly, that's a miss on our side. So that's something that we're again reflecting on and planning to improve. But the fact of the matter is Forsaken made that mistake once. He got penalized for it per the rules. The lobby was remade per the rules, and we just proceeded.
Well, I think, let's be honest here, he was only picking it to kind of round out his whole agent pool of playing everybody, right, in a tournament. So I don't think I think it's pretty, when you look at it that way, I don't think there's any real evidence that they were doing it maliciously at the end of the day.
No.
Yeah, and then the other side could see each other's picks because we terminated the lobby before it was locked. So if they locked the agent and the game already started, they could see each other's picks. And at that point, you're using information that you shouldn't have had. And so that's where it gets a little bit no, you should just continue with the match because you can't let PRX get an advantage because of a mistake they made. But yeah, we were able to terminate the lobby appropriately without revealing any info. So a lobby remake was the right step.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is this? Must be a something that we could talk with Riot as a global issue, but couldn't we just unlock all the agents for the player accounts? It seems, I don't care about the gun buddies and stuff, but shouldn't we just have all the agents unlocked so that we don't have to mess with this? If it's happened twice, that we know of.
Yeah.
Feels like an easy win there. I was kind of surprised when you said that they're not all unlocked already. I was like, what? The guns, the skins and stuff I get, let players choose those, whatever. But yeah, that was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I'm not too savvy to how everything kind of works technically. I think it's because we give players their accounts and then new content comes out after that. And so it's in the game, but it's not in their accounts. And so I don't think we have the ability to push new content into people's accounts. We also can't give people new accounts every time because then they have to go and do their settings again, and they're sensitive to that. And so, yeah, I mean, not a perfect answer, and perhaps we should find a solution. But right now, we just don't have the ability to.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
But come on, it's not that hard to just click around, Jason.
This is the most Forsaken thing I've heard today. All right. So I think we're good with all that. I think we've covered everything at this point. That was quite a bit, but thanks, Jake. We really do appreciate that, man. It was it's a lot of stuff that we all have to go through, and even we as talent get asked about this stuff. And this isn't the first time I've talked about this publicly. And so it's not fun for anybody. So hopefully we can keep things on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
But let's get back into a few other things. Let's talk about a little bit of the future here for Pacific while we got you for a few more minutes. What is like in your mind, like what is the vision of VCT Pacific beyond just, hey, we're all of APAC, blah blah blah? What does success look like for us? Like, how do we hit some like milestones or kind of things? What are we looking for in the future?
Yeah, honestly, I'll be able to talk about this in greater depth soon as we reveal our 27 plans and what that means for us. My ambitions are super ambitious, and I feel like we're building something really special here, something that's never been done in esports or sports. And we're really building something special, something big, and something diverse, something that is truly APAC. And so I think what I would feel like we're on the right track if fans feel like this is something that they resonate with, and fans from across the globe telling me that like they love that they have a league like this that they can call their own from all parts of APAC, not just one particular part of APAC, but if everybody is saying they feel like they belong here and they feel like a piece of this is mine, that to me is success. And that's honestly a very tall ask or tall task, but I hope we're getting there. And we have a lot of different initiatives to get us closer to that goal. So please hold me accountable for all of this. I really want to make it happen. And yeah, excited to share more in the coming weeks, our future plans. But yeah, I'll be able to talk about it more then.
Okay.
Awesome. Looking forward to hearing about it.
Yeah, man, that's exciting. What about Vietnam? Do you got anything you could share with us about that? We know it's happening.
Yeah, I was at the venue for a site visit earlier last month, and it's a really nice venue. It's gonna blow you away. It's gonna be awesome. It's a great venue. It's gonna feel like it's a celebration of Valorant. It's gonna feel like we're bringing really something special to our Vietnamese fans. But people watching on the air will also feel the energy, and yeah, it's it's gonna be awesome.
There we go. Very good. Very good. And have we said? Do we know what city it's in? Can we say? Is that?
Yeah, Ho Chi Minh City.
Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like, I never can keep track of this stuff in my brain. I'm like, what's public? What's not?
Yeah. Same.
All right. Very good. Boys, you guys got anything else? I think we're getting pretty near our time limit here. So.
Yep.
I
Quack.
think we're kind of good. I think we're good.
I think we're good.
Okay.
No,
All right,
I think we're all satisfied.
Yeah.
You gave us a lot there. We kind of pressed you a bit, but we appreciate that. Like, you kind of dropped the PR face for a bit, gave us the real stuff. And I think a lot of the questions that the fans were looking forward to hearing about, be able to talk about today. I guess all I have to ask is, you have anything else, Jake, moving forward that you want to, I guess, tell the fans, about what to expect in Pacific, and I guess what more can they expect moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think the gratitude is all mine. Thank you guys for the opportunity to let me use your platform to be able to talk to our fans directly. That's something that I love doing, right? I'm probably the most active, besides Leo Faria, person on the Riot Esports leadership team, and so I love talking to our fans. I wish I could do more of it, but I think X is
Then come back here.
Well, I would love to. I would love to. If you guys would invite me back, then yes, I would love to. Obviously, I think what I've really tried to convey here is like, we're not perfect. I'm not perfect, and we made a lot of mistakes. Like, I will admit to that. We weren't bulletproof on a lot of these things. There was a lot of ambiguity around our rules and how they were implemented. We messed up on a lot of things. And so we want to own up to that and make improvements in the future. So please do hold myself and our team responsible for that. And yeah, hope to give you, the fans, what you deserve, which is just the best of the best esport, right? And a really, diverse and inclusive league that you can really call your home.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Quack.
We all. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no. We all really appreciate it, man. Jake, thank you so much for taking the time with us. It's been great to get the insights. And yeah, we're looking forward to stage 1 starting, and Pacific got another trophy. Let's go, baby.
Oh yeah, let's go.
4 in a row.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we'll all get a chance to talk about that a little bit more on another podcast. But for today, that is going to do it. On Paperthin, that's Quack, that's blackenBlue, and thanks again, Jake. We'll see you next time on YAP2ASIA. Bye, people. See ya.
Cheers, guys.
All right.
Whoa.
What did you hit?
I hit my mic. I almost dropped it.
Was it my drop?